Your arteries do not care about food marketing. They respond to repeated inputs: LDL exposure, blood pressure, glycemic load, inflammation, sodium-potassium balance, body weight, and how well you recover between days. That means heart-friendly eating is not about chasing one miracle ingredient. It is about choosing foods that improve those signals often enough for the cardiovascular system to adapt in your favor. So your working set is not random. It is 10 reliable foods: salmon or sardines, beans or lentils, oats, walnuts, extra virgin olive oil, leafy greens, berries, plain low-fat yogurt or kefir, intact whole grains like barley or brown rice, and soy foods such as tofu or edamame. Here is the mechanism. Fatty fish helps because marine omega-3s can improve triglyceride levels and support overall cardiovascular health, especially when fish replaces higher saturated fat protein choices. Beans, lentils, oats, and intact whole grains bring fiber, including soluble fiber, which helps with LDL control, steadier digestion, and more stable blood sugar. Walnuts and olive oil shift your fat intake toward unsaturated fats, which is strategically useful when the real goal is replacing butter, fatty processed meats, and other saturated fat-heavy defaults. Leafy greens, berries, soy foods, and low-fat fermented dairy help you build a pattern that is rich in potassium, calcium, magnesium, protein, and polyphenol-rich plant foods, while keeping sodium, added sugar, and heavily processed calories from dominating the day. That matters because the metabolic system, endocrine system, vascular system, and autonomic nervous system all react to what repeatedly lands on the plate. Blood pressure, lipid handling, insulin response, recovery, and even how hard your body has to work after meals are downstream of those repeated choices. Most people misunderstand this because they judge foods by calories or trends, not by whether the food makes the whole day easier for the heart to tolerate. So apply it like a coach, not like a shopper collecting health halos. If your mornings are rushed, you do not need a perfect breakfast. You need a cardiovascular, stable breakfast. Start with oats, plain, low-fat yogurt or kefir, berries, and a small handful of walnuts. That gives you a clean mix of soluble fiber, protein, unsaturated fat, and low-friction satiety. If your appetite is low early, reduce the volume but keep the structure. If you train in the morning, add a little more whole-grain carbohydrate or fruit. If you are sedentary at a desk, keep the breakfast smaller and cleaner so you are not starting the day with a glucose spike and an energy crash. The mistake is skipping the meal, then overcorrecting later with refined snacks and sodium-heavy convenience food. The heart pays for those swings through higher blood pressure load, worse glycemic control, and poorer body weight regulation over time. By lunch, your job is to make the middle of the day mechanically easy. A large salad of leafy greens with beans or lentils, olive oil, and an intact whole grain such as barley or brown rice is not boring, it is efficient. It improves fiber density, increases mineral intake, and gives you volume without forcing saturated fat and sodium to do all the flavor work. If you are someone whose blood pressure tends to run high, this is where you lean harder into greens, legumes, and lower sodium choices. If you struggle with afternoon cravings, the answer is usually not more willpower. It is more protein, more fiber, and fewer ultra-processed calories at lunch. If digestion is sensitive, make the bean portions smaller at first and progress it, instead of assuming your gut cannot adapt. If your schedule is chaotic, batch cook lentils, brown rice, and chopped vegetables, so the decision is already made before hunger and fatigue start negotiating against you. Dinner is where people either reinforce the plan or erase it. 2 servings of fish per week is a strong cardiovascular anchor, and salmon or sardines give you a direct route to omega-3 rich seafood without needing supplements to carry the whole load. On non-fish nights, use tofu or edamame, or rotate back to beans and lentils if you want the meal more plant-heavy. Cook with olive oil instead of relying on butter or tropical oils. Keep a cooked whole grain in the fridge so dinner is not built around whatever refined starch is fastest. If sleep has been poor, keep dinner more predictable because under-recovery increases the chance that you overeat salt, sugar, and saturated fat at night. If your body weight is rising and your waistline is moving in the wrong direction, do not remove all carbohydrates. First, remove the low-quality fat plus sugar combinations that crowd out the foods that actually protect the heart. The body is more compliant when the meal is built from familiar ingredients you can repeat, not from nightly improvisation. Here's where most people stop, but here's the advanced layer. You do not judge these 10 foods by whether they sound healthy. You judge them by whether they improve your biomarkers and your adherence. Track blood pressure, non-fasting or fasting lipids with your clinician, waist circumference, morning body weight trend, and in the right context, fasting glucose or A1C. Then track behavior markers that most people ignore. How stable your energy is between meals, whether cravings rise at night, whether you need more caffeine to function, whether sleep onset gets worse after high-sodium late dinners, and whether training recovery is improving or flattening. That is the advanced layer, because heart health is not just a cholesterol conversation. It is load management across the vascular system, metabolic system, sleep system, and stress system. A food is only good for your heart if it helps the whole operating environment, not just one lab number for 1 week. To make this stick, use a rotation instead of a reinvention. Put 2 breakfasts on repeat, 2 lunches on repeat, and 3 dinners on repeat. Keep oats, berries, walnuts, olive oil, beans, and a whole grain visible and easy to reach. Keep fish in the freezer, yogurt in the refrigerator, and tofu or edamame as your backup protein so the plan survives busy days. Pair the food pattern with walking, sleep discipline, and sodium awareness, because nutrition does not operate in isolation from circulation, stress, or recovery. If travel disrupts you, default to the simplest version of the pattern: oatmeal, yogurt, fruit, nuts, salads, beans, fish, and rice. If a plateau shows up, do not jump to exotic supplements. Check whether the basics are still present often enough to matter. Most people do not need a smarter theory. They need a tighter food environment. And that is the real frame. These 10 foods are not a menu of superfoods. They are leverage points. They lower friction, improve replacement choices, and give your heart fewer reasons to fight the rest of your lifestyle. Rewatch the logic, and you will catch the detail that makes the whole system work. The benefit is not in adding a heroic food on top of a chaotic pattern. The benefit is in what each of these foods quietly displaces when you use them consistently enough for the cardiovascular system to notice.